Hey guys, it's Joel from guntoter.org. Welcome back to the channel. For the next two videos, we're actually going to be taking a little bit of a break from our discussion of TAK, and we are going to kind of back to more of our traditional gear reviews. And we're going to start that off today with a review of the Esstac Baofeng radio pouch. Now, before we get into the actual review, as always, if you go down in the corner, like, share, subscribe, hit that notifications button. Also go down below, check out our Patreon page. If you could support us as we buy this gear so that we can review it for you, that would be greatly appreciated. It does get expensive. Now, with all that said, let's get into the actual reason you are here.
Okay, so we're going to try something a little different this time around because you guys have said that you want to see things mounted and then also just kind of a detailed walkthrough of the actual piece of equipment. So this is the Esstac Baofeng radio pouch. Now this is not the only radio pouch that Esstac makes. They also have them for the XTS 5000, they have them for the APX 8000 I believe, and I believe they have one other one. But because obviously we have done a long series on Baofeng pouches, I wanted to specifically talk about their Baofeng pouch. Now when you order the Baofeng pouch, you get the pouch itself, you get this piece of hook and loop that's laser cut, and you get this WTF strap. Now if you're like me and you just see ooh pouch and hit buy without actually reading the description, these two things here are a little confusing to you, but don't worry, we'll get to them, and we'll cover the fact that I am a little bit slow when it comes to reading directions and descriptions. But before we get to that little bit of fun and excitement, let's talk a little bit about the specifics of the pouch. So as you can see, it's a laminate pouch, and it is nice and slick here on the front. On the back, you have your laser cut grid, so that you can use the WTF straps, you can use the malice clips, you can use 1-inch one wrap, or you can use their belt loops. All options they offer. I bought it without any attachment options because I have a ton of the malice clips, so when you see it mounted later, I'll be using the malice clips I already had. Now from this view, obviously you can see something that's really unusual about this pouch versus other pouches, and that is it actually closes here on the back. So that does two things. One, it keeps it nice and slick on the front so there's nothing to snag. But the second thing it does actually plays into what these are for, and again we'll get to that in a moment. But it's got this nice little loop here. You can grab it, unhook it, nice and simple. It does have a cutout here on the side, so if you need to put one of your accessories in here, like your earbud or whatever, programming cable, anything like that, you can still get to it even with it still in the pouch. You don't even have to pull it out of the pouch to put it on. You can just open this up, plug it in, because it's got this nice little cutout here. So that's a nice plus. The other thing that I kind of like is it also happens to cover that absolutely stupid flashlight that Baofeng insists on putting on their radios. I don't know why they do it. I don't know who in the design department was like, hey, you know what we need? A flashlight on a radio. I don't know, but it's there, and thankfully this covers it, which actually a lot of other basic pouches don't do, because a lot of them, instead of having a closure like this, they have just a piece of 550 cord going across, and by doing that, that flashlight is still exposed. So I like the fact that this actually completely covers that flashlight. And then obviously you can get to your knobs quite easily, as well as to your antenna if you needed to disconnect that. Now, the one thing I do have to say is if you're using some of the kind of the aftermarket accessories like the knob protector or the Great Plains Creation cover that they have, is probably not going to work with this because this is not adjustable. This is designed to go over the radio and nothing else. So if you do that and you put that extra piece on there, it's not gonna work. So that's a quick overview of just the pouch itself. And next up we will get into mounting, and we will explain what all this is for, and we will also give you a chance to see it mounted and kind of see what it looks like on a piece of kit. All right, so for those of you who are wondering, what in the world does one do with a piece of laser cut hook and loop and a single WTF strap when clearly I stated I didn't order any attachment? Well, in keeping with Esstac's kind of history of, making very well thought out designs, not just a copy of what someone else did, they actually came up with this cool little idea. So you sit here, take your WTF strap, take your laser cut hook and loop, and now, instead of just having a pouch, you have a side wing. Now, side wings are kind of all the rage right now, right? For those of you who aren't familiar with the concept behind a side wing, basically it sits behind your cummerbund. So if this is my cummerbund, it would sit back behind it here. And what that does is it keeps things a little slicker. So it keeps it nice and tight to you, and instead of it being on the outside of your cummerbund and basically being, another piece pushing away from your body and away from your kit that can snag on things, by being inside the cummerbund, it actually keeps it nice and tight. So I'll show it actually on me here in a second, but this is what those two pieces are for. Again, if you read the description, this is not a surprise to you, but if you're me, and again, you hit buy without actually reading the description because you were just so excited, now, you see what the surprise is all about. And of course, because of the way they designed it, you can switch it to the other side, so you can actually use it as a wing on either side, depending on where you want to set up your radio, whether you run it on your right or your left. But that, I think, is probably one of the coolest ideas that I've seen in a little bit. Maybe I don't get out enough, but I think it's a pretty cool idea. But it also helps explain why the closure is on the back, because obviously when this is looped over like this, you're not going to be able to get to a closure on the front. You're going to have that closure on the back to be able to get to it. So there you go. There's the surprise. That's what that random piece of hook and loop is for. And now, as requested, since you have seen the up close of the pouch, now the up close of it as a wing, let's take a look at it mounted and see what it looks like in both configurations mounted. So as you can see, with it mounted as a side wing, it is much, much tighter and much, much more streamlined. You can see this from the front and from the side. It's much more streamlined than if this was mounted on the outside of the cummerbund, which is where I tend to mount things. I mean, this is probably about an inch to an inch and a quarter thick radio, which is completely contained underneath everything instead of being, stacked out here on top of it. Now, we'll show you the actual picture here in a second when I show it mounted externally with the malice clips. But if you've wondered why people are all excited about these side wings, this is why. It does keep you a lot slicker. Now, being slick might not be a super concern for you, but it's a nice capability to have. And as you can see, if I need to actually get into the radio, I can still get in here and I can still open it up and close it up, all without having to actually like maneuver anything around. So that rear closure, solid idea. It works out perfectly for what they intended it for. And so yeah, so this is the side wing configuration. You can see how slick it is. Now here we're going to switch it out. We're going to go to the Molly configuration, and you'll see the significant difference in how it sits. And like magic, there it is in all of its bulky glory. Now that's not to say the pouch itself is actually that bulky, because it's really not. It's a super lightweight pouch, and as I said previously, super streamlined. But now you can see the difference between the external mounting and the wing mounting. And it really is a very significant difference as far as bulk and not bulk by itself, but added bulk, like external bulk sticking out outside of the actual plate carrier itself. Now, if you're running just a chest rig or something like that, this may obviously not be necessarily an option for you running a wing, depending on what type of chest carrier you're running, or carrier or chest rig you're running. But if it is an option, like if your kit that you have allows you to consider a wing configuration, that is something to look at. If you are currently running a kit that does not allow you to use a wing configuration, but you're hoping to get to it at some point, well, Esstac does have you covered on that, so keep that in mind when you're shopping for your various pouches. All right, so just a quick note to say you can also wear it as a side wing on a chest rig. However, just because of the size of the Baofeng, as you can see, it barely covers the space between the two. So it's probably not going to be as effective. Now, that's not really a pouch design issue. It's more the fact that the Baofeng is just not long enough to prevent like these buckles from sliding off the top or off the bottom. So you can wear it this way, but with the Baofeng specifically, there's a good chance that you're going to have some issues with your straps moving around if you choose to do so. With larger radios, longer radios I really should say, like maybe the APX or the XTS, may not be as big of a deal, but with the Baofeng, it's definitely something to think about.
Okay, so that ends our review of the Esstac Baofeng radio pouch. Hopefully you all got some good information out of that. I know I think it's a solid pouch, great design. I like the fact that you can use it more than one way. Hopefully also with the review, I incorporated a lot of your suggestions, and hopefully I did that effectively so that you got a better review out of it. Like I said, I always try to listen to the comments and I try to incorporate them as much as I can. So with that said, down below, hit us up in the comments, let us know what you thought. Am I moving in the right direction? Is this kind of what you want to see with reviews going forward? Because I can definitely make that happen if it is, and I will make corrections as much as I can if you tell me what you want to see. So one last plug, if you go down to the Patreon page, if you could support us, this equipment is not cheap, and we buy all our own gear. We don't get anything for free, and we do that because we want to give you the most bias-free reviews that we possibly can. But we also want to be able to be kind of free to follow your suggestions and kind of our own path, instead of getting stuff and then having to turn it around and be on a timeline for someone else's desires. We exist to try to put out good information for you, and we like to kind of be able to maintain that autonomy. So there's also bonuses, by the way, to being a patron. You get the videos ad-free over on our Patreon page, and if you are at the highest tier, you can also get them a week before everyone else does here on YouTube. I will always post them to YouTube as long as YouTube lets me, but you can get them early and ad-free if you are a member of our Patreon network. So with that said, hope this was useful for you, and I hope to see you all again next time when we talk about the Tasmanian Tiger Baofeng radio pouch. See you soon.
Behold the pouch and my gut. But let's not talk